Hey, welcome back to the Experience Share. My name is Blake, and we're diving into another tier list video, taking on the elites and uniques out of Earth. So this tier list is a little bit different if you haven't seen this series before. We are looking at flexibility and power level, so you know if this is a card that can get slotted into any deck or if this is a build around. And then last here we have cards that are just kind of bad. Cards that'll get better over time as more cards come out, but they're not cards that I'm putting into my competitive decks right now. Starting off with Assorted Animals, search your spellbook for different beasts with a combined mana value of X or less, reveal them, put them into your hand, shuffle your spellbook. There's not a ton of great beasts right now. This will be a card that gets better over time. For now, it's going to be narrow and fine. It needs to go in a beast deck. It's just fine because there's not a ton of great beasts, but as time continues to go out, it will be a continuously better and better card. Atlas Wanderers. This one is tough because it's narrow. I'm going to put this in the narrow and powerful tier. If you have not played against an Avatar of Earth deck, you might not know how powerful this card can be. But when they can put their Earth site right on top of you, right next to you, through an Atlas Wanderers, it's narrow in the decks that it goes, and it really only is going into Avatar of Earth right now, especially with that 3 threshold cost, with that ability to be able to adjust sites, and so they change places, and it's an incredibly strong effect right now. So this is a very strong, powerful card, but it's narrow in the decks that it can be played in. Conquering Worm. At the end of your turn, if no enemy units are here, permanently gain control of that site. Alright, so this is going to go into that narrow and fine category here. We'll put it better than Assorted Animals. It is a beast, so you could fetch it out with Assorted Animals, but then you're dumping 8 mana to draw 1 card, and that's not very good, even if it is a tutor. But being able to potentially play Earthquakes, Berries to clear out a site, play a Conquering Worm, or move a Conquering Worm on top of it, and to permanently take control of that, it's really strong. Now, you're not going to get the mana that turn. You don't get the mana until the start of your next turn, but it does impact your opponent to where they lose that mana right away. Craterize. All right, this is going to go into the narrow and powerful tier. I'm going to put this above Atlas Wanderers here. It just does a huge, massive amount of damage. It does cost you a card in as far as the site goes, but there's something about being able to drop something and hitting somebody for 10, destroying their site, that's incredibly powerful here. You do need to be a deck that wants to play this, though. This isn't a deck that I'm going to say is flexible and that every single Earth deck should play this. And honestly, maybe it is in that fine category. It's just maybe a pet card of mine. But there's something about being able to hit somebody for 10, half of their life, for 8 mana. That is a real cost. But some of these Death Speaker decks, Pathfinder decks, Sorcerer decks that are just looking to play the mid to late game, Craterize can be a really good finisher. Next, we have Crown Prince. Deathrite. If you control another mortal, return Crown Prince to its owner's hand. This card is actually, it's going to go in that narrow and powerful tier 2. It's only going to get better after the next set, once there's more mortals with our next Arthurian Legends set. It's going to continue to get better. At 3/3, it's on rate, and then it has just this Deathrite ability that you can return it back to your hand, which basically means draw another 3/3. This can be really good in an aggressive shell. I would expect this card to get better in the next sets, but even right now, there's, honestly, maybe for right now, it's narrow and fine. But I'm gonna go ahead and put it in this powerful tier, knowing Arthurian Legends is gonna come out. All right, we have Crusade. You may summon an Earth minion to the effective sites. Earth minions here have +1 power. This one's tough because it's like a 2-cost summoning sphere that allows you to buff your minions for +1. I am going to put it in the bottom of narrow and powerful because it only buffs your Earth sites. However, especially coming out into this next set, I can see that being a much stronger card, kind of similar to Crown Prince. Next, we have Earthquake. So Earthquake is probably the best removal spell in the game, allowing you to bury a 2x2 grid, and this is going to be our first flexible and powerful tier. If you're playing Earth, you're playing Earthquake, and you're playing two of them in almost in every single deck. It's probably the best piece of removal right now. It's the main reason to go into Earth. And then next we have Gigantism. This card I would have probably put in flexible and fine, but I've been seeing it in so many aggressive shells, and it hits really hard. So we're gonna go ahead and move it up here to this narrow and powerful tier. It's narrow in the sense that it wants to be in an aggressive deck. You're spending a card to basically hit your opponent for 6 damage. It can be a removal spell if you go ahead and buff up one of your creatures and then attack your opponent's creature, because it can stay around and go ahead and kill. But I've seen people Gigantism grapple shot, and that basically makes Gigantism hit for 12. So really powerful card. Uh, but right now and it's only going up and seeing more play. Next, you have King of the Realm, 7 cost, 3 power. Other mortals have +1, and then you control all mortals. So this would go in a mortals deck, but it's gonna have to go in this fine category for now. It will get better like Crown Prince. However, it dies to basically everything: Firebolt, Lightning Bolt, and I just you're paying 7 mana. You die right away. You won't control all mortals whenever he dies. It'll get better in the next set, but still paying 7 for that effect it's a big cost to pay. Next, you have Master Tracker, and it says all enemies permanently lose stealth. Right now, there's an air site that does something relatively similar for nearby. It's a 2/2. It's probably fine. It's narrow and fine, but you only get to play 2, and so it's not even like you can guarantee you have this. If this was an exceptional, I think it would be better. But to be a 2/2 elite that you can only play 2 of, you don't get the effect off consistently. I wouldn't really put this in my sideboard. I would potentially look at if I could play 3 and then slot that in against somebody playing a whole bunch of Infiltrate or a whole bunch of Stealth. But for right now, it's just kind of bad. Midland Army here. 8 cost, 8 power, 4 air threshold. Tap a target location up to 3 steps away. Deal 4 damage to each unit there. Deathrite, summon a foot soldier token to each adjacent location. Oh man, this is a fun card. 8 cost. It leaves something behind. Oh, this is right between this kind of bad, better than Master Tracker, and narrow and fine. Because I haven't played against this a single time in probably the 100 or so games of Sorcery I played, I'm going to go ahead and put it in this kind of bad tier. But who knows? Maybe there's a chance where we can try to play this card in the future and make it do something impressive. Next, we have Mordic Druid. It's a spellcaster. Whenever you lose life to an undefended attack nearby, the attacker's controller also loses that much life. This is a card that's going to go into our narrow and fine tier. It dies to everything. It dies to a desert. And maybe I'll put it better than Assorted Animals, but it's a cool effect. You need a way to be able to protect it from magic damage and be able to block it from attack. So maybe you can play a Tragedy Warrior Wart or something along those lines to protect it. But then you're playing a 2/1 and a 3/1, a 2, not really progress much, not really give much for defense. We'll see. All right. Next, we have Mountain Giant, big ol' 8/8. And if we look back at Midland Army, it's an 8/8, 4 threshold, but it has a Deathrite effect. Yes, this takes 4 sights, but it's only attacking that one time for 8 damage. It's able to defend a lot, but it can be just buried, earthquake, drowned. It can be put in. Yeah, it's just. For an 8/8, I'd want some sort of Genesis effect. I want some sort of something rather than just pay 8 mana for it to get buried. So it's going to go there in just that kind of bad tier. Queen of Midland. After an opponent draws a card, if they have more cards than you, you may draw a card. I think this card's flexible in the decks that it can go into. You can play it in a lot of your Earth decks. You're not going to be upset. You're going to hopefully be able to draw at least 1 card off of this if you're playing it in an aggressive strategy. But it's same thing as these kills this one. So it's just going to go in that fine category. If there was a better ways to be able to protect it, but your opponent's going to want to remove this right away. I think it's fine. I think it's very flexible in the decks that it can go into, but Not going to be something I slot into every one of my Earth decks. Rest in peace. Whenever a spirit or undead minion occupies an effective site, bury it. Right now, this could get better over time if there's more spirits or undead minions that will be continuing to play. So right now, it's going to go into this kind of bad tier. However, if there's a spirits deck, this could be a really good sideboard card in the future. Royal Bodyguard. If a nearby avatar, royalty, king, queen, prince, or princess would take damage, Royal Bodyguard may take that much damage instead. This card is, I mean, it's a 4/4. It's tough because it's a powerful effect when it goes off. But I don't play this in every single one of my Earth decks. That effect's really strong. It's an elite. You can play 2 of them. It's immortal. It's gonna be better than Crown Prince. I'm not gonna be playing it too often though. I need to have a minion strategy or an aggressive type strategy to where I want to play it. Watch out for Royal Bodyguard in the next set. It might be able to come up to this flexible and powerful tier. But right now, that's probably good where it is. Alright, Silver Valkyries airborne at the end of your turn. Untap all allies here. Oh man, this is just, it's a 6/4 that has an effect at the end of turn, so you get an untap out of it, but I don't think that's going to be enough to make it playable or to really see it. So we're going to just go ahead and put that in that kind of bad tier. Sisters of Silence. Other nearby minions lose all basic abilities. This is a deck that is going to go in the top of this narrow and fine category. If you have effects that you want to remove, maybe like Pudge Butcher, and you want to be able to remove Immobile and be able to attack for 5, that could be strong. Phalanx, if you want to be able to move sideways, that could be strong. I've seen people use this with the crabs. They have a 1/3 attacker. That could be strong. It's an elite, so you're not going to see it that often. You need other effects that do something similar to help make those types of strategies good. But just shout out to my opponent that'll be coming up in an upcoming video who played a Silence, Sisters of Silence deck. And it was really cool. And it was a really unique way to be able to use this card to turn a card's downside into really an upside, because you're not expecting it to make an attack in this one particular way or place. Then you drop Sisters of Silence down, and then, whoa, I just took 5 off of Pudge Butcher whenever I thought I was going to be able to block or move out of its way. All right. Swarming Mass. Whenever a nearby minion dies, Swarming Mass permanently gains its power. It also permanently dies to removal as well. It's going to go into this kind of bad tier. I'd probably rather play it over Mountain Giant, but I think I'd take Midland Army over this one. Star Seeds of fill up to 13 voids with Rebel. This is going to be, I'm going to put this in the very bottom of narrow and powerful, in the sense that if you're playing a Geomancer Avatar deck and you see this turn 1, you love being able to flip over your sites, playing voids, and then you're basically playing a Pathfinder that gets to just continuously stay at its location. It's not putting itself in harm's way to play multiple sites, and it's just the card advantage that you're going to be able to get. It is really, really narrow. I'm only playing this in a Geomancer deck, but it is powerful when it's able to go off. Alright, Stone, Gaze, Gorgons, other minions at rest at adjacent locations are disabled. This card is going to go in that narrow and powerful tier right under Royal Bodyguard. This is a pretty strong effect to be able to disable. It dies to a lot of different magic, but this can help save you if you're at death's door, or slow your opponent down to allow you to get an undefended attack off with your Avatar of Earth. Really strong card here, and one that we'll see how it continues to play over time, but it's narrow in its effect. I don't want this in every deck, but there's certain times where that could be a game-winning play. Next, we have Wicked Witch Spellcaster. Other nearby minions have +2 power. And for now, this is just going to go in this flexible and fine category. It's an elite. If you're playing against an aggressive shell, this is going to be able to slow them down quite a bit. And it's hard to remove with attacks. You really need magic to be able to use it, because it needs to be a 4 power minion to be able to actually defeat. the Wicked Witch, but a really annoying card to have to deal with. It can affect a large number of minions, and but it dies to so many things. Violent knocks it out, and so it's fine. But it can be a really good defensive card to help save you a lot of damage. Ravenous Titan is, we're gonna go ahead and move it up to the flexible and powerful tier. This is flexible in the decks that it can go into. The reason why I'm putting it here in this powerful tier is because it can now be used with Summoning Sphere, or is being used with Summoning Sphere and Death Speaker decks. You can use that Genesis ability again. It's a really strong aggressive card with maybe Crusade or with Summoning Sphere, but it can also be a really good defensive card, potentially 2 for 1ing your opponent by being able to drop this Ravenous Titan on top of them, destroying 2 of their minions, and then go ahead and attacking for 6 the following turn. So you let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this tier list? Else would you potentially put in this flexible and powerful tier? What do you think of Star Seeds of Ur? Would you have put it this high in this narrow and powerful tier? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Take care.